Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fury Boys Racing channel. I'm John, and this is my hill climb sprint car. Got a lot going on. I think I mentioned in the last video that we are going to change things up with the rear suspension and that we're going to go with a different style altogether. I want to show you guys that and what I got to do in order to accomplish that goal. I've already been in contact with Winners Performance and their team over there, and we've kind of come up with a plan. I appreciate their help so much. We're going to get this thing back together soon so that we can go racing, but we got to figure out a lot before we can go do that. So as I mentioned in the last video, well, not the last video, the last shop video, I should say, is that we're going from a traditional driveline to a torque tube style setup. The dilemmas that I had with that was finding a drive shaft that would work. Thankfully, I have some friends over at at Winners Performance that will be able to basically custom make me a custom sprint car style drive shaft. Now what that's going to have to entail on top of just making the drive shaft itself is adapting the rear end for a ball coupler, like many sprint cars run these days, and then we have to make it go through the torque tube, and then I got to put a basically a fake firewall here with the torque ball. That is basically just a recap of what we discussed the last time. However, I just got to make that stuff. There's a lot to make, and there's a lot to figure out. So I think I have a good plan, but once you get rolling, you come across roadblocks and stuff like that. It's up to you to basically figure it out on these types of things. If you're developing a race car, you have to expect, having $400 plus into a, actually it's more than $600 I have into this, and I'm not even using it. So, when you're designing a race car, when you're developing a race car, you're going to come across those hurdles, and you just have to accept it as part of the process. So what I'm doing right now is disassembling the rear end. As you can see, I have the suspension disconnected. Once I get the spline adapters off and the brake rotors, I can slide this piece off. Also, when I take this out, I got to take out the axles because this is a floating axle, full floater. Then the other things I have to take off are the wishbone and all the fasteners that go with that, as well as the Watts link. And what we're going to try to do, as I mentioned in previous videos, is that we're going to put this part of the Watts link on the torque tube. We'll have to machine the torque tube down to accept that, but I think it's going to work well. So without further ado, I'm going to carry on with disassembling this and getting it ready to bring over to Winners Performance. They have, as I mentioned before, they have to change out the lower shaft on this to accept the ball coupler. So, and then I also want them to take a look at this here. And what happened here was the clamp, like this one on this side, it basically slipped on the tube. The set screw was in there pretty good, but not enough apparently. And it slipped on the tube and gouged all of this. This is a really thick tube, but if it's going to be even questionable, I'm going to swap it out. All right, I have everything prepped to remove the rear end. As you can see, it's quite a bit of pieces. I'm hoping that with this new design, there aren't so many pieces and that it's easier to disassemble. My wife will be out here momentarily to help me lift this thing out. It's not too heavy, but it's a little bit more cumbersome than a traditional sprint car rear end. So I can't remove it by myself, whereas with a regular rear end, a regular sprint car rear end, one could do it by themselves, and I have quite often. So, all right, as you can see, I got the rear end out. Nothing too crazy going on with this. I didn't find the bolts that went to these. This is where the old suspension mounted, and I had to get longer bolts, so probably just have them replace it when it's in for service. Like I said, nothing else going on here. What they're going to be changing is basically, I'm getting rid of this. The only reason why I have it on there now is so that it doesn't leak. Then they're going to be changing this shaft right here so that it looks like that shaft right there. So, and then that ring around it, this part, which is underneath that aluminum piece here, right here. So I have things mocked up a little bit here. It's just literally sitting on top of here, but wanted to give you guys an idea of what it's going to look like once we have everything ready to go to put back into the car. So it'll be a little bit harder to describe things once it's in the car. I figured this would be an easier way for you guys to see. So basically what I'm going to be doing is taking this piece here and then machining it down to the same length or the same width as where my thumb is, and then also machining in that groove for the snap ring. Things I have to make sure that I keep an eye on is I don't want the material to get too thin right there, because that is where some of this is going to be riding on. So just want to make sure that I, am diligent about machining these surfaces exactly to what the tolerances should be, and that any changes that I make aren't going to compromise the structure of the actual piece itself. So I threw the torque ball on there, and what I want to show you guys is what I'm going to have to do for clearance on top of the torque tube here. So obviously, as you can see here, this piece rides on here, and what I'll have to do is cut this down so these pieces don't hit together when the suspension is cycling. Otherwise they would bind up everything, break a whole bunch of stuff, I'm sure. So I want to get one of these pieces that doesn't have the machined surfaces here, and then I want to cut it down, and that should give us a lot more clearance. And then once I have the surfaces machined like this on here, then I should be able to cut off a little bit of the excess here. I don't want to cut too much because, as I said before, I don't want to compromise any of the structure. So more on that to come. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's the stuff I enjoy. I just don't want to miss too much of the season. So while I'm waiting on some stuff to get built, I'm going to concentrate on this piece here. This is the balance bar that I'm going to try to use. And this piece is actually from Tilton. It's a little bulky, but I think it's gonna work. The center of that had this spherical bearing in it. This spherical bearing is pretty much the same one that's on these. The inside diameter is the same. So what I did was I found a heim that would work. I had to grind down the sides a little bit, but on the actual ball part. But it worked pretty well, and you can see it's held in by those little clips there, wire clips. And what I'm going to do is put this into a new brake pedal, and that'll be pretty stout because this is a steel heim, and I think that it'll work pretty well as far as durability. The only question that I have is it going to stick out the panel? And or will I have to modify the panel to do something like that? And then the other question is, which is a simple one, all I would have to do is reverse this. But do I want the adjustment coming out towards me now like it is, or should I reverse this and put it towards the inside of the car? And I don't know, I don't like that idea. I think it's gonna hit my knees or something like that. And I like the idea of having this poke out the panel so that I can adjust it between runs up the mountain or the hill. So more to come on that. Little bit of figuring out to do, but I'm pretty confident we can have that sorted pretty quickly. So as you can see, I started to move some stuff out of the way in order to start the fabrication process on this, what I'm calling a fake firewall. Basically what I'm going to be doing is using this 1/4-inch plate right here, and then going to be mounting the torque ball on here just like so. And then I'll be cutting a 6-inch hole in the center of that. Right now I'm going to be working on getting the tabs made for the back side of it to hold it all in place. I'll show you what that looks like once I get everything cut up, and we'll go from there. All right, I cut out some of the brackets for the mounting. This right here, I just put in the mill lathe over there just to make sure that they were straight and even, and looked good and everything too. What I'll do after I get these kind of fitted and figure out where all the bolts are going to be in the holes or whatever, I need to, I'm going to stick them back in that mill lathe and drill the holes so that they're absolutely perfect. Well, at least better than I can do by hand. All right, knocked out this fake firewall, and I drilled and tapped the holes for the mounting hole, and then I also drilled or cut out this big 6-inch hole here. That is a challenge, using a 6-inch hole saw on 1/4-inch aluminum. It definitely kicks back, and it's pretty gnarly. Anyway, gotta move this thing down about 1/2 inch. Otherwise, it lines up pretty well. Obviously, got to cut down this for clearance, and then also got to notch it possibly for the shifter over here. I think as far as clearance goes for this shifter, which is the reverse shifter, I think that is going to be fine. Well, I forgot to film a little bit, but right now I am making the brackets for the fake firewall, and I've got that kind of mounted. I got the lower mount on. What I ended up doing is just using it's a 3/4 inch Heim, and just reusing that same setup that I had for the old wishbone, and I don't see any problems with that. Up here, it'll be triangulated because it's going to go through these seat mount bolts right here. Then once I get those located and drilled and tapped and everything, I'm going to cut down the top part of this plate, and then I think we should be good. A little bit of tweaking, I'm sure, but more to come on that in a little bit. Okay, so these are the brackets that I just was making, and what I did when I drilled these holes is I pivoted the drill bit so that this could lay flat on this panel while this is completely bolted tight. Now there's a few other things that go through this hole and mount to this point, but more on that to come. I'm sure you guys that have been following along for a little while know what I mean. But now I'm going to mount these mounts to this plate. I think I'm going to tap this, but I'll probably put bolts or nuts on the other side of it anyway, just for safe. Rather be safe than sorry. Anyway, I'm going to get to that, and I'll catch you guys up once I get that done. Okay, well, I have everything in there. It's all bolted up and kind of mocked into place right now, but everything works. These holes down here are tapped, but like I said before, I'll probably put nuts on the outside or the back sides of those. Something that I'm trying to figure out right now is shielding, because even with the protective housing for the torque ball, there is still a bit that is exposed into the driver's compartment here, and I'm going to try to recycle this right here, but if I can't, we'll have to come up with something else. We'll see how it goes. As you can see, I started to mount or check out how I'm going to mount that guard around there. I have a really good idea of what I want to do. We made some really good progress today also. As you can see, we got that all mounted up. As I showed you guys before, we were playing with the brakes a little bit. There's the that Heim joint that is going to act as our pivot point for our two master cylinders. This will go on here. This part will be welded to here. This will go on here, and then I will weld it to the side of this. And I'm going to cut the top off of this, and then we should be good. So more to come on that. More to come on the driveline situation. I am going to link up with a machinist on turning down the part that goes to the torque tube. Hopefully I can talk to him this week and get that knocked out. Anyway, it's been great having you guys along as always. So please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.